bill for the establishment of student loan in Nigeria, which was brought to the House, to the Senate and the House for repealing into most of the important laws that are becoming very important to the establishment of the management of the fund. So that is why we want to embark on the technical session, so that the bill will be highly and responsibly delivered, so that it will be passed into law without much problems in the near future. That is why all the critical stakeholders were brought to address the major challenges and the problems found out in the bill, which was passed in 2023, and it is now brought to 2024 into consideration to the Senate and the House. So this was a part of making the bill very urgent because of its significant importance, because the challenges we are having in Nigeria on educational sector, if this bill is properly deliberated by the critical stakeholders, both the academia, the financial institutions, and the students that are here present, I believe we will have a value addition to this country, because Nigeria is blessed. We have all the basic raw materials needed for development, and education is the key to success. We have the minister under his team, esteemed professionals. We have the captains of financial industries that are here present, and the students that are here who are suffering most with these payments of their bills. That is why, under the Renew Hope agenda, that this bill is being passed and is being considered, and it has some challenges that need to be deliberated this afternoon to ensure sustainability, maintenance, and accountability, and also for a better success of our yet unborn generation. Thank you very much for coming today to the Senate and the House to make your comments and proposals based on the international practice. That is why we are here. I think we'll go into the technical session. We'll start with the mover of the bill, who presented it to make a deliberation before the minister makes comment.
So that, you know, I mean, we all require education, but these are the people that we need to pay a lot of attention to, so that we can have the kind of future that we truly deserve. I must start by thanking Mr. President, who considered this very, very important, to the extent that even after signing the first bill in June, we still see the need for us to look at the provisions, and here we are today. From all that we have seen, student loans scheme is one of those things that is very popular in different parts of the world. And one of the things that is required for it to be successful is, of course, a very solid structure. It is that structure that we are looking at today, and other things that goes on with it. It is not the beginning that is very important. It is how we go into it, so that we can have a very sustainable, you know, law and process and scheme that will support, you know, the education that we are looking for. So I enjoin all of us. Let us take ourselves as individuals out of this. Let us look at the structure as a structure. Even those that are students today, in another 3 or 4 years, they will not be students. Those that are National Assembly today, in another 4 or 5 years, they may not be here. And this scheme will continue. So let us work towards having a scheme that we all, years before, after now, we all be proud of, because we need it to be very sustainable in order for us to have the kind of things that we, you know, that we are looking at. So once again, I thank everybody for coming, despite the very short notice that that is given, and I wish that at the end of the day we'll be able to agree on the way forward. Thank you very much.
The short remark I have is is to thank and appreciate our president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for his passion and unabashed commitment to the cause of education in Nigeria. And he has said times without number that he does not want a single Nigerian youth, girl or boy, to be out of school because he cannot afford it. And he also added the very important rider that it's not just the formal education that has to be catered for, but even those who are searching for skills in other institutions that will give them some livelihood. And so we really want to place on record our appreciation to him for that. Secondly, Mr. Chairman, we want to thank this body, the Senate, the House of Reps, for the support and their commitment, the sacrifice they have made, to ensure that this the bill is well supported, the efforts of the president is supported, and this public hearing. We know what happened to the previous bill, to the previous act on this matter. Very clumsy it was. It made it almost impossible for the commission itself to take off. This gives us the opportunity to take a second look at this bill so that we can have this agency take off immediately. And on this note, I want to thank the joint committees of the Senate and the House for this effort, and to say that the ministry has made extensive review of the bill, which it will be making submissions on as soon as we begin to take those submissions. Thank you very much.
It's going to be captured in my comments. I don't know if we're supposed to make our observations now or as the technical session begins officially. Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity to make this, to make the position of the Federal Ministry of Youth Development known. While the ministry supports the Students' Loan Bill, we have the following observations. As the Federal Ministry tasked with the responsibility of youth development, with the staff who have experience working on youth work, and the ministry we've noticed that the ministry was excluded from vital areas, and it is recommended that the ministry be included as follows in our appeal to the joint committee. The Federal Ministry of Youth Development should be a member of the board. Please refer to page 7 and 8 of the bill. The Federal Ministry of Youth Development is excluded. Only the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Finance members, executive members of the committee. Our second submission would be to also kindly refer to page 2 of page 12 of the bill. In addition to the government MDAs listed, it is important to include staff of the Federal Ministry of Youth Development in the list of agencies that staff can be deployed for secondment to the loan fund, because we have experienced experienced personnel with the right expertise to support the implementation, and of course to provide some policy guidelines when it comes to the implementation of the bill. And from our interface with the Secretary of the Fund and the members of his team, we actually had come to an understanding that there's a need for a more robust involvement of the Federal Ministry of Youth Development. And as we speak, I believe that we already have a team that is working between the ministry and the fund on ways to implement. Well, we also, during those engagements, I think I should make this, the rest of the submissions later, just in the interest of time. I thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Very much, Chairman. For us at the central bank, we are the custodian of the fund.
Sorry, I told that you mentioned your name and description for everyone.
Okay, my name is Bala Bello. I'm the Deputy Governor Corporate Services of the Central Bank. I'm representing the governor. Like I said, we are the custodian of the fund, and I think everything that needs to be said has been said. Nobody can de-emphasize the essence of education. Education is key. The only way you can uplift people out of poverty is to support the education. Follows maintain a personal philosophy that says the strong should support the weak, and the rich should support the poor, and the government must play its own part by creating level playing ground for everybody to have access to education. We are part of the executive. I think the session today is for us to hear from every other stakeholders, the student body, other stakeholders in the project, so that the decision-making process that will lead to the reenactment and the repealing of the old bill and then promoting the new bill will be very, very enriched, so that all the gaps that have been noticed since the promulgation of the bill in 2023 will be taken care of. So like I said, we are part of the bill, we are part of the executive, we are also custodian of the fund, and we continue to play our own part. I also want to clear one misconception. People have been saying CBN is donating to support education. Of course, this particular fund is not about that. This particular fund has its own sources of resources as identified in the Act. So we keep playing our own part and we keep supporting whatever it takes to lift Nigerians out of poverty. I've always maintained also that good governance is about the welfare of the people, and the welfare of the people is about good governance, and education is part of that critical part. So we keep supporting and we keep playing our own part to ensure that that trust in even selecting the central bank as the main institution, as the banker to the bank, to be the custodian of the fund is maintained going forward. And of course, as we engage, we also have our own submission. But like I said, today's hearing is basically to give other stakeholders who are not necessarily part of the executive that opportunity to hear from their own side and to tap from their own brain and to also get their own input in enriching the decision-making process. On that note, I want to thank you very much. And I want to invite the secretary to the fund to make a few remarks, and then we hand over the microphone back to the chairman. Thank you.
The executive secretary of the Nigeria Education Loan Fund. I have a few remarks to make, but before I do that, I'd like to thank the leadership in the House, the Senate, the Joint Committee for entertaining this. So, let me start by saying that this is a defining moment in the story of this nation. Today we stand at the crossroads of possibility, where we have the power to create a future where every individual, regardless of their economic standing, can boldly dream and flourish. Imagine this, if you may. The daughter of a humble gate man at the gate of this complex, born into a world where odds are stacked against her. Her dreams are tempered by the harsh realities of economic disparity as she grows up in the shadows of privilege, yet fueled by the belief that her destiny is not predetermined by the circumstances of her birth. She remains unwavering in her quest for knowledge, often burning the midnight lantern despite the ridicule. She faces obstacles. Her aspirations are often dismissed as fanciful. Still, she stays resolute in her drive to defy expectations. She works odd jobs to support herself, scraping together every kobo to fund her education. Eventually, her dreams take shape. Against all odds, the daughter of a gate man becomes a doctor. This story about the power of community, of refusal to accept status quo, the status quo, of teachers who encourage ambition, of strangers who offer support in times of doubt, of legislators who make the right policy decisions. It's a story of a country that believes in the inherent worth and dignity of every person, regardless of their pedigree or their circumstances. The people's president steps in, the first of its kind, of this particular kind of students' loan scheme, made possible by His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, is about investing in the future and unlocking the potential of young Nigerians. It's a signature program of this administration and the flagship program of the president. His Excellency recognizes the significance of education for the future generations of our nation, Nigeria. It's not a matter to be trifled with. The late Obafemi Awolowo transformed the Western region by introducing free education. With that said, there are a few things to keep in mind. One, does the current law set the great principles and policy objectives? Two, are there gaps in the current law? Three, is there ever a law that is perfect? Four, can we, in spite of the gaps, make a bold move to start this historic process? These are questions we must ask ourselves. We must hold ourselves to the highest standards of integrity and fairness by building a system founded on the principles of transparency, accountability, and inclusion. We must build a foundation that fosters trust, confidence, and which can attract funding locally and internationally. Everything must be done to depoliticize this scheme. By establishing clear, impartial criteria for eligibility, we ensure that loans are allocated based on merit rather than on partisan interests. Having worked on this novel idea for the past few months, I see this as a great opportunity to give young Nigerians hope and succor, a shot at a best possible start in life. There are obvious gaps in the current legal framework, but there are also great initiatives in it that we must preserve and uphold. The sanctity, to uphold the sanctity of this project. I believe the role of the CBN governor chairing the special committee has made kick-starting this fund very effective, given need for it to start on a solid, transparent, and sustainable structure. Going forward, we think this spirit should be sustained, albeit differently. This should be done in trust through a board of trustees, i.e., make the board of directors or special committee a board of trustees with reputable institutional membership to hold this fund in trust for future generations. This promotes fairness and equal opportunities, allowing students from all backgrounds to access the support they require to pursue their educational goals. That is why we at NELFund have developed a technology-based system that seeks to do just that. The loan fund should be run like a development financial institution for one simple reason: efficiency. And the best way to achieve this is to keep it within one, the CBN. Financial institutions operate with a focus on accountability, risk management, and strategic planning. This allows for optimization of the process and adherence to regulatory standards, invariably instilling confidence in stakeholders. This will require diversification of funding sources to avoid dependence on a single revenue stream, while ensuring stability in the changing economic situations. Prudent financial management will be necessary to maximize resources, in addition to continuous innovation and adaptability to evolving individual and educational landscapes. I am making these statements because I believe that we at NELFund are well positioned to speak about what's working currently and what could work better for the fund. Mr. President is eager to make this happen, and we're all set. I believe the essence for this gathering here is to support this laudable cause and not to limit it. Finally, this program is not for the elite. It is for those who hope and dream of a better future despite dire financial constraints and turbulent circumstances in their lives. It is for those who cannot afford a meal if they don't make sales in a day. It is for those who hold on to hope for a prosperous life in defiance of their current dire financial predicament. This one is for Nigerians and the future of our beloved country. Thank you.
there is a success. This is a success story. However, we feel very strongly that this is about education, and therefore should be located within the Federal Ministry of Education, because it's about education loan fund. We believe that if we turn it into some technical type of thing, it will create problem. And therefore, we are, as the ministry is recommending, few amendments, very few, to the present bill, because the bill as presented is very, very good. But there are few things. We at JAMB, we have only 3 of them to mention, sir. The first one is definition. We believe that the use of school, there are few errors. Where they use school, school is not institution. School is a part of an institution of higher learning. So we believe that institutions as defined in the law should be kept. Wherever school is used, should be amended to institution. Secondly, we also believe that this post-NYC thing, not all candidates who will take the loan will go on NYC. And we also believe that we don't want to be to add more to our problems, but we believe that given the critical role of JAMB in it, the board should include membership or a representative of the board. And I believe that if we amend few things in the present bill, they will solve the problem rather than the previous bill that was not implementable, because at the point when we were approached, we called attention to some of these things, because some of the terminology, students are very delicate to deal with. And I think this bill has identified the sensitivity that need to be protected. And we feel that if all this will be incorporated and the amendment proposed by the ministry is taken into consideration, we will have a very good bill that will serve the purpose. I thank you for the audience, sir.
More recognitions from the House.
Thanks for checking out Symphony on YouTube. Please be sure to subscribe and like our videos for updates.